criticism and condemnation. And if at the end of this experiment I choose to take up the anger, the hate, the disagreement with others, I could do that. But for 40 days, I'm going to walk the high path and be a real expression of God in this world. For 40 days, I'm going to truly follow Jesus the Christ. We call him the way shower, right? Show me the way, as long as it's not the highway. You know, his main teaching was about love, folks. What was the great new commandment he gave us? Love one another as I have loved you. That was the one and only commandment he gave to us. You know, the two great commandments we teach, they come from the Old Testament. He said, this is the new commandment. Love one another as I have loved you. Will you join me in Lent? Hey, you guys. No, I'm not talking. This is me now. Will you join me?
Sure.
Okay, we don't hold you to it. Raise your hand. Now, recently I received a chain letter that stated that I would be in dire circumstances, right, if I didn't send this on to 10 more people. Do you ever get those? Yes. Said I would have horrible things happen to me, just awful, if I didn't pass on this chain letter. Well, I didn't send on the chain letter. I never do. Don't bother sending them to me, you guys. Okay? And here I still am. You know, I'd rather make my life a living chain letter, like that letter that Marcel wrote. Repeating, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, over and over and over again. Let's pass that on. I'd rather make my life the link in the chain that can make a difference in the life of everyone that I meet. That means loving everybody in my life, not just the select few who are easy to love. We've talked about that, right? Jesus taught on that. It's easy to love those who love you. Love your enemy. These teachings are not easy, folks. If they were, we'd all be doing it. One of the best kept secrets in life is that it's much easier to love everyone than to hate some. Did you know that? To hate people is like a poison to the soul. I've talked to you about that before. It's like taking poison, right, and waiting for the other person to what? Die. But what is really dying? You are. Your soul is slowly dying to its real self. It's God's self. I forget who God is. I forget who I am when I'm not loving. Remember the scripture, he who does not love does not know God. Does not know yourself, your God's self. Love is the power of the universe. It is the power of new life. Not just for me, but in those people who come to me on my path in this life. You know, many of us make a great mistake of thinking that love must be returned. That's Old Testament thinking. It's the eye for an eye. I will love you if you love me. But to truly be loved and to be loving, that love has to be free. It has to be what? What do we always hear in church? How is love supposed to be? Unconditional. Oh, you know it. Unconditional. With no ties attached. To be love is to love with open arms. To love all who cross my path and not expect anything in return. Now, some of you might be hearing this right now and saying, here she goes again, that minister with that Pollyannish attitude. You know, makes it sound like this is such an easy way to do life. But folks, this is not Pollyanna in any way. Being love is not a matter of escaping from the reality of life. Rather, it's about dedicating one's life to God. And it is not easy. This morning, as usual, I was on Facebook first thing, and there's this Unity minister, God love him, and may I try too, who has a blog where he writes almost every day. This, Arlene knows it, this incredible negative energy against the Unity movement. So I read it, and I find myself talking to the screen. So what's going to be my challenge during Lent? To love this guy. Do you have anybody like that in your life?
Sure.
so many of us have loved also from the basis of lack. What do I mean by this? Well, number one, if I'm loving from lack, I have the idea that I lack something, that somehow I'm incomplete. Number two, I'm searching in my life for love because I need something to compensate for that lack. And I think only by looking outside of myself am I going to find that person that's going to make me complete. You know, your other half. Have you heard about this? I know, that doesn't affect me, Bj. I want somebody to love. From number three, from the foundation of lack, I become dependent on that relationship. And number four, in time, when the person doesn't fill my needs, which results in resentment and hostility on my part, what do I have to do? I must leave this person and find another who will complete me and bring me fulfillment. And the cycle begins again. Sound familiar? That's because many relationships are exactly like this. It's time to realize for each one of us that we have God's love. And in God's love, we lack nothing. Huh? If I'm coming from this foundation, from the foundation of God's love, then number one, I know I lack nothing. Number two, I know there's no necessity to search outside of myself for a special relationship. Number three, because I radiate love, I will attract relationships, not needy people, but healthy relationships into my life from a higher level. And number four, these relationships will be all about sharing that which is God's love. Sharing that which we each already have. I love it when two wholes meet, not two halves. You can get your mind around this, right? This is about rising to a new level of loving, not really wanting anything from anyone else, just finding the joy and sharing your beautiful God self. Holding hands in spirituality, standing up for the very best in each other. Because folks, if I'm unwilling to love the expression of life called human, what do I mean by that? If I'm unwilling to love the expression of life called human, you and me, that I've already seen with my own eyes, how am I going to love the source we call God that I haven't seen with my physical eyes? Some people say, I love God, but it's people I can't stand. Remember that Peanut strip with Lucy? She said that to Charlie Brown. But how can we love music and not the harmony? How can we love the morning but not the day? Each individual is an inlet and an outlet for the complete love of God. And a big part of this new way of loving, folks, is being love in the world, is that I can't possibly love anyone or anything unless I first love myself. Going back to the daily word that Joseph was saying, that love has to be able to flow through me. It's like a hose. If I'm going to love, I have to let that love flow and pour through me. It has to get through me to get to you. And that love is not going to pour through me if I'm standing here saying, I look tired. I don't like the way my hair is today. I'm no good today. How can I effectively love you when I'm hating on me? How does that work? Doesn't work. So next time somebody comes up to you and they're hating on themselves, they're saying something negative, you just say to them, you're not loving me. Get it? You're not loving me. They can't love you if they don't love them. Confront them. Not about, oh, you poor thing. Let me help you feel better about yourself. It's time to, what did Carol yell out earlier? What's our purpose in life? You didn't need a purpose talk. Our purpose in life is to wake up. So love gives all, but it also demands all. Love is the toughest taskmaster and the hardest discipline in the universe. This is